and with the opening of the gates we were out onto the tideway with our unexpected friends.
Thanks for that, John. It is right here like that.
Hull Marina comes into view, but we head straight into the River Hull. Because we're using the tide to get us down there, we arrive in Old Harbour quite late on the tide. What we have to do is moor up onto the barge and wait for the incoming tide to come in for quite a long period of time, because it takes a long while for the water level to raise enough further upstream to get over the shoals in the river. After waiting what seemed like an age, finally there was enough water in the river and we started heading up. There's lots of history on the River Hull, many old docks and some signs of the old bridges that used to be here before the lift bridges. This is the remains of the original North Bridge. Until fairly recently, they were still building ships here. This is Scott Street Bridge, built in 1901. It was finally closed in 1994 before it was lifted permanently and has now been completely removed. There is much industry on the River Hull, much of it chemical, with Reckitt's being the largest company. However, there is some more traditional crafts still left on the river, and this is one of the last working dockyards on it. As we get further upstream, you can see how the tide hasn't reached this far yet. All the corners further down slow the tide, and it takes quite a while for this bit to get any amount of water in it. The tall chimney of Reckitt's comes into view. It's built this tall because the exhaust from it was quite nasty. It is now not used. Cargill's oil crushing facility is still being used at this time, and the barge is used to transfer the oil to the Hull docks before it closed in 2022. Even waiting as long as we did, we still run out of tide by the time we reach Stonefurl, but there's enough depth to get over the shallows here, and we'll continue upriver. passing through low tide and eventually pushing the river flow. The Croda Chemical Works is the last major industry on the river, and beyond that we head around the edge of a park and a modern industrial estate further into the outskirts of Hull. Through the reeds, Sutton Road Bridge hoves into view. Originally it was the last crossing before you left Hull, but since it was built another bridge has been made at Ennerdale. The bridge that should have been a tunnel. The Ennerdale Bridge was built in 1997 after a failed attempt at running a tunnel under the river. It's been a pain for boaters ever since. The bridge doesn't open very often due to the smaller vessels that use this part of the river. After a short while we reached the Grove Hill Lock, which is the entrance to Beverly Beck. It's not far to Wheel Lift Bridge, and beyond that is Beverly Shipyard. A little bit further upriver we reach the beginning of the moorings for the Hull Bridge Boat Club. This is their dry dock, which is an old barge that has the front cut off they sink the barge, put the boat in, lift the front and pump it out. Enid is the Hullbridge Boat Club's clubhouse. We pass under the site of the original Hull Bridge, which has been replaced by a footbridge, and the new bypass. Pass Avon Beck and around what is now a nature reserve was originally a gravel pit, and there are still signs of the loading arms. This is the site to the entrance of the Leven Canal. There's not much to see now that they've built the banks up, but you used to be able to see the old lock, and if you stop here and have a look, you can still see the lock chamber. Beck used to fall into the River Hull here, but it was rerouted into Arran Beck some years back. However, it's still officially the start of the Driffield Navigation at this point. We reach Hempholme landing. There used to be a ferry and a pub here, but it's been many years since they existed. The tidal waters don't reach this far. It still goes up and down, but the water is always fresh. It does mean that it's usually clear as well, so we start to have more problems with weed along this stretch. We head around the bends of Basic Steer and past Basic Landing. On the other side, Top Hill Low Waterworks, which have two great reservoirs, and some of the land is now a nature reserve. We reach our first lock since leaving Goole. This is often known as Hempholme Lock, Top Hill Low Lock, but I think its official name is Stringham Hill Lock. There used to be a large pump house on here, steam powered, that used to empty the drains. The Driffield Navigation Amenities Association replaced the bottom gates in 1982. However, the top gates were replaced by the Water Authority in the 1960s when they created a new pumping station there. This has left it with a rather unusual set of paddle sizes. The lower gates using a normal windlass, whereas the upper gates have to be wound open using a slightly larger square windlass, and the gate paddles, a very unusual system which uses a screw. The level needs to be kept at what is known as the Beverly and Barmston mark that's set into the lock wall. This ensures that there is enough depth for the rest of the navigation. An automated weir maintains this level. an issue on the navigation, and the EA do run a weed boat that cuts the level down. During the summer the water level can actually be higher than the winter due to the amount of weed blocking the flow of water. Of course, once it's cut it has to be removed, so this weed boom at the lock allows them to pull it out.
Wow.